Hello. Pull. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. Woohoo!
Good day to each and everyone. By the way, we are the group 7 and our topic is all about people and climate. So, let me introduce myself. I am Janilyn M. Makilan and I am the first reporter of the group. So, when we say people, people is the human being. We are the people living in our society or the environment. And when we say climate, climate is the general condition or general weather over a long period. This can be include rainfall, temperature, snow, or any other weather condition. So when we say climate, it is a long pattern of weather in particular area. Weather can change from day to day, hour to hour, or year to year. A region weather patterns usually track for at least 30 years and it's considered a climate. Different parts of the world have different climates. So it means na may iba't ibang climate po ang iba't ibang lugar. And then, some parts of the world are hot and rainy nearly every day. So climate is determined by region's climate system. So there are types of climates. First is tropical, second is dry, third is temperate, continental, and polar. So first is tropical climate. In this hot and humid zone, the average temperature are greater than 64 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius year-round, and there is more than 59 inches of precipitation each year. So in tropical climates, there are 3 climate types in tropical group. First is tropical wet, tropical monsoon, and tropical wet and dry. So this is the sample picture of tropical. And the second one is dry. These climate zones are so dry because moisture is rapidly evaporated from the air and there is a very little precipitation. So when we say dry, this is the example of a dry climate. So region lying within the dry climate group occur when precipitation is low. There are 2 dry climates, the arid and semi-arid. So the next one is temperate. In this zone, there are typically warm and humid summers with thunderstorm and mild winters. So this is the sample picture of temperate climates. So the next is the continental climates. These regions have warm to cool summers and very cold winters. In these winters, this zone can experience snowstorms, strong winds, and very cold temperatures, sometimes falling below negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 30 degrees Celsius. So this is the example picture of climate of continental climate. So an additional continental climate areas with continental climates have colder winters, longer lasting snow, and shorter growing seasons. These are the transition zones between mild and polar climates. Continental climates experiences extreme seasonal climates. The range of weather in continental climates region makes them among the most spectacular sites for weather phenomena. These continental climate have 3 types. First one is warm summer, the second one is cool summer, and the third is subarctic. So these climates exist only in northern hemisphere. Usually, continental climates are found in the interior of continents. So the last one is the polar climates. So polar climates, it's extremely cold even in the summer. The temperature here never go higher than 50 degree Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. So we already topic this mga climates before, no, sa previous reporter. So this is the example of polar climates. So makikita nyo na puro siya ice or cold weather or climates. So in polar climates, additional, the two polar climate types are tundra and ice cap, lie within the Arctic and Antarctic circle near the north and south poles. So these are the types of climates: the tropical, dry, temperate, continental, and polar. Now, let's move on to the climates in the Philippines. Ang Pilipinas ay isang bansang tropical dahil malapit ito sa Ecuador. We experience maulan na klima at tag-init na klima. Ito ay isa sa mga salik na klima sa ating bansa. The first one is temperature, and then humidity, and then the third one is rainfall. When we say temperature, ito ay tumutukoy sa nararanasang tag-init o taglamig sa isang bansa o kapaligiran. Ang normal na temperature sa Pilipinas ay 31 degrees Celsius at hindi bumababa sa 23 degrees Celsius. But because of the climate change, nalalagpasan ang pinakamataas na temperatura mula sa 31 degrees Celsius hanggang umabot na sa 40 degrees Celsius kung panahon ng tag-init sa bansa. Naka-experience ito or naitala ito sa lugar ng Tugigaraw. Gayon din ang pagkakaroon ng pinakamababang temperatura sa bansa na umaabot sa 6.8 degrees Celsius hanggang 7.5 degrees Celsius. Nararanasan ito sa lugar ng Antok Benguet sa panahon ng taglamig ng bansa. So, hindi magkakatulad ang tag-init na nararanasan sa Pilipinas. May nakakaranas ng sobrang init at mayroon ding nakakaranas ng sobrang taglamig. Ang example nito ay ang lungsod ng Baguio. So, walang kinalaman ang karoroonan ng latitude ng lungsod sa temperatura nito. Ang altitude o kataasan ng lugar ang dahilan kung bakit ang Baguio ay malamig na temperatura. Also, there is a tendency na ang lupa ay mas mainit kaysa sa tubig. At saka ang tubig ay mainit kaysa sa lupa. And there is changes between them because paiba-iba ito dahil sa direksyon ng hangin na bumabase sa kung saan ang mas mainit o mas malamig na lugar. So, it is called hanging monsoon. So, ang hanging monsoon na dumarating dito sa Pilipinas ay may dalawang uri. The first one is the hanging amihan and then the second one is hanging habagat. When we say hanging amihan, malamig na hangin buhat sa hilagang silangan. Month of November until March ay taglamig sa Mongolia at Siberia. Higit na malamig ang lupa sa mga nasabing bansa dahil sa niyebe. If tumataas ang presyon sa nasabing lugar, that's why ang hangin na papunta o dumadating dito sa Pilipinas ay malamig. So, ang hanging habagat naman ay from May to September ay panahon ng tag-init sa bansang nasa hilaga ng Pilipinas. Ang mga lupa sa mga bansang ito ay umiinit kaya maging ang hangin ay umiinit din. Kapag ang hangin ay mainit, magaan ito at tumataas na naging sanhi ng pagbigat ng ulap. Buhat sa timog kanlungan, ang hangin dumarating sa bansa. So, that's the temperature. And then, humidity. Humidity refers to the moisture content of the atmosphere. Due to the high temperature and the surrounding bodies of water, the Philippines has a high relative humidity. We experience humidity because we are near sa equator. That's what I've said earlier. Dahil sa tag-init ng klima, tumutukoy ang dami ng water vapor o singaw ng tubig na nasa himpapawid. That's why nagdudulot ito ng pag-ulan at pagbalik ng tubig sa mga dagat at pagbibigay ng supply ng tubig sa mga tao na ginagamit ito pangligo at pag-inom. So, the third one is rainfall. When we say rainfall, it is the most important climatic element in the Philippines. So, when we say rainfall, it is tag-ulan. May tatlong color code rainfall advisories ang PAG-ASA. PAG-ASA means Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration. The first color-coded rainfall advisories is Yellow Rainfall Advisory. Ang itinataas kung inaasahang bubuhos ang 7.5 mm hanggang 15 mm na ulan sa susunod na isang oras at inaasahan magpapatuloy ito. Kung bahagi ka ng pamamayang binigyan ng Yellow Rainfall Advisory, pinapayuhan kang maging alerto sa kondisyon ng ulan at binibigyang babala na maaring bumabaha sa mababang lugar. So, the second one is the Orange Rainfall Advisory. Ito naman ay itinataas sa mga lugar na inaasahang makakaranas ng 15 mm hanggang 30 mm na buhos ng ulan sa susunod ng isang oras. Nagbabadya na ang baha sa mga pamamayang ito kung maituturing ng emergency ang pagbuhos ng ulan. Red Rainfall Advisory naman ang itataas. Nangyayari ito kung mahigit 30 mm ang ulan sa susunod na isang oras. O kung 3 oras nang makalipas or malakas ang ulan at umaabot na ito sa 65 mm. So, pag 65 mm na ang ulan, ito ay Red Rainfall Advisory. Kapag 30 mm naman, ito ay Orange Rainfall Advisory. Kung itinataas ng PAG-ASA ang Red Rainfall Advisory, inaasahan ang pagkilos at pagtugon ng mga pamamayan. Mapanganib na ang baha at dapat nang handang lumikas ang mga residente tungo sa ligtas na lugar. So, pupunta na tayo sa evacuation center if red rainfall advisory na ang itinataas ng PAG-ASA. So, seek yourself or have safety nets po if red rainfall na ang itinataas. So, that's are the rainfall and humidity, temperature in the Philippines. So, let's move on sa seasons here in the Philippines. There are only 2 seasons here in the Philippines. The first one is wet and then dry. So, this is the example picture. So, wet is also called coolest month and then dry is also called the hottest month. So, the rainy season or the wet is from June to November. And the dry season is from December to May. So, this season may be divided to cool dry season from December to February. And then the hot dry season is from March to May. So, ito yung dalawang season sa Pilipinas. So, pagkatapos ng seasons, let's move na pod sa climate map. So, here's a climate map. ito ang mapa sa Pilipinas. So, there are 4 type. The type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 na malalaman natin kung alin dito sa Pilipinas ang tag-ulan at saka tag-init. So, the type 1 is the color red. As you see in the picture, ito yung color red. And then the type 2 is color blue. And then the type 3 is yellow. And then the type 4 is green. But before that, ano po ang type 1? Ang type 1 ay 2 pronounced season from dry from November to April and wet during the rest of the year. Maximum rain period is from June to September. So, dito sa type 1 is nagka-experience ng dry and wet season. So, when we say dry, ito ay month ng November to April. And then, when we say wet, ito yung month ng the rest of the year from June to September. So, as you see in the picture, these are the example places of the type 1. So, these are the Ilocos Norte, Abra, Ilocos Sur, Benguet, La Union, Pangasinan, Tarlac, Zambales, Pampanga, Bataan, Metro Manila, Cavite, Batangas, Antique, Occidental, Mindoro. So, and then sa type 2 naman is kulay blue. So, ang type 2 is no dry season. So, it is rain period from December to February. There is not a single dry month. Minimum monthly rainfall occurs during the period from December to February or from March to May. So, ang type 2 naman is blue is rainy season siya. So, ang mga lugar sa Pilipinas na nakakaranas nito ay ang Luzon. Ito po yung rainy season or type 2 ay ang Luzon, Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Sorsogon. But ang Sorsogon ay nasa gitna ng kulay green at saka kulay blue. At followed by Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Southern Leyte. Gayon din ang Southern Leyte, nasa gitna ng green at saka blue. Dinagat, Surigao del Sur, at saka Surigao del Norte. And then, the third type is yellow. Sa yellow is no very pronounced maximum rain period with a dry season lasting only from 1 to 3 months, either during the period from December to February or from March to May. This type resembled type 1 since it has a short dry season. So sa type 3 has a short dry season. So ang mga areas nito ay ang mga Apayao, Cagayan, Kalingan, Mountain Province. So pero si Mountain Province ay nasa gitna ng yellow at saka red. So pagkatapos ni Mountain Province, kay Isabela, Ifugao, Nueva Ecija. Si Nueva Ecija din is nasa gitna ng yellow at saka red. Si Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Bulacan, Laguna, Rizal, Marinduque, Oriental Mindoro, Romblon, Aklan, Masbate, Capiz, Iloilo, Guimaras, Negros Oriental, and Negros Occidental, Cebu, Siquijor, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga City, and Zamboanga Sibugay. Si Zamboanga Sibugay ay nasa gitna ng yellow at saka green. So, the next sa type 3 is Misamis Occidental, Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, North Cotabato, at lastly is Maguindanao. Si Maguindanao is nasa gitna din ng yellow at saka green. So, when we say green or sa type 4, Sa type 4 is rainfall is more or less evenly distributed throughout the year. This type resembled type 2 since it has no dry season. So, ang type 4 ay kadalasang umuulan sa bahagi ng Pilipinas. So, sa makikita nyo, itong green na to ay kadalasang umuulan dito sa Pilipinas. Ang lugar na nakakaranas ng tag-ulan or type 4 ay ang Camarines Sur na nasa gitna ng kulay green at saka blue, Albay, Sorsogon na nasa gitna din ng kulay green at saka blue, followed by Samar, Northern Samar, Leyte, Southern Leyte, Bohol, Camiguin, Agusan del Norte, Misamis Oriental, Bukidnon, Agusan del Sur, Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, Compostela Valley, Davao Oriental, Sultan Kudarat, South Cotabato, Sarangani, Zamboanga del Sur, Basilan, at Sulu. Ito yung mga lugar kung saan na belong sa type 4. So, those are the climate map in the Philippines. So, it is very important for us to know the climate in the Philippines, especially na located siya sa mga bansa, kung ano yung nasa isang specific na lugar, kung ano yung klima nasa specific na lugar. So, it is very important to know those places na climate dito sa ating bansa. That's why we really need to study this one to have insight of the climate in our bansa. And now, my next topic is all about climate change. So, what is climate change? Climate change is a change in the typical weather for a region such as a high and low temperature and amount of rainfall all over a long period of time. So, in other words, climate change ay isang pagbabago ng klima o panahon dahil sa pagtaas ng greenhouse gases na nagpapainit sa mundo. Ito ay pinaniniwalaang sanhi ng mga gawaing tao o gawa ng tao na it can change the composition of the atmosphere na nagdudulot ng mga sakuna at sakit. So, the next reporter will be discussed what are the causes and effects of the climate change especially here in the Philippines. So, also, the next reporter will be discussed the impacts of the climate change toward us humans. So, the growth of climate change on us is a very big problem that we are experiencing here living in our planet. Because as humans, dapat we are facing our world in a safest way, but because of our doings, of our actions, there is a climate change. So, additional, the influence of climate toward us. So, the influence of climate is first one, the way we were wearing or the shirts na sinusuot natin. Ito ay nakapag-influence dahil kung ano yung, for example, kung ano yung climate na nandito sa Pilipinas, ay yun yung ating sinusuot. For example is, kung ang ating climate ngayon ay tag-init, ang damit na ating sinusuot ay nababagay kung ano yung climate ng ating nararanasan. Tag-init. So, ang ating sinusuot na damit ay manipis na tela. Or we wear sleeveless dress na nababagay sa klima. If taglamig naman, ang ginagamit natin or sinusuot natin na damit is yung mga makakapal na tela. At saka nagsusuot tayo ng jacket if rainy or sunny season here in the Philippines. If outside the country, for example, South Korea or Japan, they are experiencing snow, they wear jacket, or in vernacular pa, daghan sila ginasapaw na mga salina for them because of the climate. So that's the one of the influence of the climate. And then the second one is the shelter. So tirahan. Gawa ng mga bahay ay nababagay din kung ano yung klima sa specific na lugar or gusto mong tayuan ng bahay. If that specific na lugar is a prone of rainy season, so it means na may flooding na nagaganap or nagaganap dyan sa lugar. So yung shelter or bahay mo ay nasa mataas or mataas siya dahil para hindi siya maka-experience ng pagbaha. So isa po siya sa influence ng climate. Then ang guyari sa iyong bahay ay hindi basta-basta na nabubulok or hindi basta-basta na kanang nakuanan siya o kanang rainy season. So, that's why shelter is one of the influence of the climate. And then, based on my observation din po, sa three example is this are the food. So, ang food ay isa sa napa-influence ng climate. So, based in my observation, if ang climate sa Philippines is a kanang tag-init, gusto ko, in my own experience, gusto ko pong kumain ng malalamig na pagkain. Or, for example, ice cream. Gusto ko pong kumain ng ice cream or uminom ng mga malalamig na tubig, basta tag-init. And if tag-ulan naman, gusto ko pong mag-ulam ng sabaw or nababagay sa kung ano yung klima ng panahon. Gusto ko pong magkape if tag-ulan. So, that's are the influence of climate, the food. So, the first one is the shirts, the way we wear. The second one is the shelter. And then the third one is the food. So yun ang mga influence ng climate. So, that's all my part. And then the next reporter will be discuss about the causes and effects of climate change in our country.
Good day, everyone. I am Brianna Hernandez, and I am the chair reporter of Group 7. My topic is all about types of climate in the Philippines. So first, we have tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest is characterized hot, very humid and wet. Normally, there is no dry season in a tropical rainforest climate, and even if there is, it is very short. Heavy rainfall is therefore expected throughout the year. Provinces with tropical rainforest climate are those located near the equator. So, ang tropical rainforest ay talagang makikita natin no na umuulan siya. At yung mga lugar na malapit sa rainforest ay yung lugar sa Sulu Archipelago Rainforest, Palawan Rainforest, Mindoro Rainforest, Mindanao Eastern Visayas Rainforest, Luzon Rainforest, Luzon Montane Rainforest, and Greater Negros Panay Rainforest. So, temperature pala nito is slightly varies depending on the time of the year. So, nagadepende siya kung kanusta or unsang year or month no sa iyang temperature. So, in colder month, which is January temperature, is usually 25 degrees Celsius. While in May, it can reach temperature of 28 degrees Celsius. So, precipitation is an important element of the Philippines. Rainforests, as usually, they receive any between 965 and 4,064 millimeters of heat. So, ito yung na-receive nila sa temperature ng tropical rainforest. So, nagdedepende ang time of the year sa month. So, yan ang tropical rainforest. Next, we have tropical monsoon. Tropical monsoon is characterized more rainforest climate and tropical savanna climate. So, ang tropical monsoon, muna siyang ginatawag sa Pilipinas na amihan. So, amihan is the Filipino term of northeast monsoon, which is a cool and dry northeast wind coming from Siberia and China and flows down to Southeast Asia. This season is characterized with slight to moderate rainfall and a prevailing cold wind that affects east of the Philippines. The monsoon commonly occurs from October to late March, although occurrence may vary every year. So, ang tropical monsoon, ito yung tinatawag natin na amihan, na kapag nabubuo na siya at nadadami, mabubuo siya bilang isang typhoon kung pupuan siya, kung grabe niya daghan or magtipong na siya tanan. So, kanina side, yung tropical monsoon is sa tropical rainforest, normally lang siya humid to wet, but this tropical monsoon, mas wet pa din siya. Then next, we have tropical savanna. In contrast to tropical monsoon, tropical savanna has a dry season and yet less rainfall. Dry season can become severe. So, ang tropical savanna is ito yung month na April to June, mga ganun. Kasi April to August kasi ito yung month na mainit talaga. So, tropical savanna, Metro Manila has a tropical savanna climate with dry winters. Over the first of the year, the temperature typically varies from 22 degrees Celsius in January to 34 degrees Celsius in May. The sky is cloudless in August and clear in April. Precipitation is most likely in July and less likely in April. So, sa Manila o dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, ito ang medyo mas common sa atin, no? Yung tinatawag natin na summer. Kapag papalapit ng summer, so ito yung tinatawag natin na tropical savanna. Kasi sa Pilipinas talaga ang may pinakamainit na temperatura kapag summer. So yung mga dayuhan pupunta sa Pilipinas para mag-summer. So ang tropical savanna is hindi siya maulan, kundi ito ay dry season. So kaya nga mas maraming mga Pilipino ang nasisiyahan kapag summer na kasi doon na banding sa pamilya. So ito yung tropical savanna. Next, let's proceed to humid subtropical. Humid subtropical climate is characterized by hot and humid summers and cold to mild winters. Provinces with this type of climate are typically located at or near coastal areas. So, humid subtropical, nakahati siya to summers to cold to mild winters. So, hindi siya gaano mainit at hindi din siya gaano maulan. Ito yung humid subtropical na located lang siya sa mga malalayong coastal areas ng mga probinsya. Next, we have oceanic. Oceanic climate has cool summers and cool but not cold winters. It rarely experiences dry season as rainfall is evenly distributed throughout the year. However, they may get constant storm which cause cloudy or overcast condition. So oceanic climate has two cold summers. So, kapag oceanic na medyo cool na yung summer, no? At hindi rin siya totally na malamig. Pero rare lang siya na ma-experience sa dry season. Tapos, nadidistribute ito every year. However, they may get constant storm which caused by the cloudy. So, nabubuo siya kapag yung storms or yung mga clouds ay nabubuo, kaya nagiging overcast ang kanyang condition. So, yan ang oceanic. So pag oceanic na, ang iyahang summer is medyo cold siya. Pero na totally, na pag mabot siya sa winter, mas cool siya. Pero usually is mahitabo lang din siya, dili panagsalang. Rarely lang siya mahitabo, dili siya permitting na mahitabo. Next, let's proceed to season. The Philippines has two main seasons, rainy and dry. Also referred to as summer and winter. Rainy season is from June to early part of October, while the dry season is from later part of October until May, with the months of April and May as the hottest and driest month. So season, dito sa Pilipinas, sa Ato-Adria, na nagduha ka season, which is winter and summer, or tinatawag natin cool and dry. So sa Pilipinas, pag later part sa October to May, ano yun siya, summer sa ato ano, tinginit. Then, from June to October, ihapon na ang winter or tingulan. So, ang pinaka-init yun or ang pinaka-hottest na part din sa ating Pilipinas or ang month na mas hottest sa April o May. So, fossil fuel, coal and gas are by the largest contributor to global climate change, accounting for over 75% of global greenhouse gases emissions and near 90% of all carbon dioxide emissions. So, fossil fuel, ito yung meron ginagamit na coal, oil, and gases. So, this is fossil fuel. So, let's proceed to cause of climate change. First, we have generating power. So, generating power or electricity heat where burning fossil fuel cause a large chunk of global emissions. Most electricity is still generated by burning coal, oil, or gas, which produce carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, powerful greenhouse gases that darken the earth and trap the sun heat. Globally, a bit more than a quarter of electricity comes from wind, solar, and other renewable resources, which as opposed to fossil fuel, emit little to no greenhouse gases or pollutants into the air. So, ang generating power, muna siya nagagamit ng fossil fuel to make a power. Like, apil diri ang coal, oil, and gases. So, diri siya include sa generating power. So, next, let's proceed to manufacturing goods. Manufacturing goods are industry that reduce emissions mostly from burning fossil fuel to produce energy for making things like cement, iron, steel, electronics, plastics, clothes, and other goods. So mining and other industrial processes also release gases, as does the construction industry. So machines used in the manufacturing processes often run on coal, oil, or gases. And some materials like plastics are made from chemical sourced from fossil fuel. The manufacturing industry is one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. So, maulit siya ang nagabuhat or nag-make, no, para nakatay, plastics, cements, na. So, nag-connect ihapon ng fossil fuel para magkaroon ihapon siya ang power. Next, we have cutting down forest. So, cutting down forest, cutting down forest to create farms or pastures or for the reason caused by emissions, since trees, when they are cut, release the carbon they have been storing. Each year, approximately 12 million hectares of forest are destroyed. So, cutting down forests or cutting down trees, muna siya manang ginakat ang mga trees para magbuhat ng mga balay, mga buildings, then magbuhat po ng mga papel, mga notebook, mga libro. So, isa po daw sa source na ito ng kaya ang trees. Next is using transportation. So, yan ang cause of climate change man using transportation. Kaya ang transportation, di ba, nagagawa na transportation, for example, mga sakyanan, nga nagagawa sa mga polluted na kayo, pollutant na. So, ang nag-aaso na, so dili yun siya maayo para sa ato ang climate, no? Producing food. So, isa po sa nga nakapos gihapon siya nga nagagamit gihapon tao ka ng pinagbabawal no, which is nagyapon siya oil and gases nga maka-create gihapon siya o kanang climate change kay syempre na naman diha ang atong mga electricity nga kanang ginagamit nato then isa pa na ako dira ang kanang pagbuhat nato kanang dahil siya oil, makagamit gihapon tag oil, naghapoy gases, so which is mo na siya ang cause nga nang magka climate change. Isa siya sa cause. Next is powering buildings. So, ang powering buildings. So, powering buildings is naghapon dira ang ginagamit nato or nag-build buildings. But nag-function gihapon siya half of the electricity. So, they continue to draw oil and gases and natural heating and cooling. So, naghapon siya yung significance nga quantities of greenhouse gases emissions. So, ang powering buildings kay nagaano gihapon siya. Makahimo gihapon tao cause of climate change kay naman siya heat, muinit na siya. So, once makabuhat siya og heat, magawas na dira ang coal, oil o natural gases gihapon. Kaya naghapon siya kanang ibalik pabrika gihapon siya nga ginabuhatan. So, dili gihapon siya mawala ang coal, oil na gases kay pabrika man gihapon siya. Next, consuming too much. Ngayon nagagawas gihapon ng climate change sa consuming too much. Example na, pagmukaon sa pagkaon. Siyempre, pagmukaon sa pagkaon, once busog na ta, dili din natin mahurutan So, pag dili mahurutan labay ang isang asa o labay dira. So, makabuhat gihapon siya o cause of climate change. Kaya kato, pag ilabay niyo, siyempre, basura na siya. Pag basura na siya, malata. Then, asa siya musagol? Sa atong atmosphere. Makakuha na siya, kaya once malata na, mapaho, makuha na niya, maabot siya sa mga baha, mahimo na din siya o kanang rason, yan ang magkakaroon ng climate change. So, dapat, hindi na dapat yun mag-consume too much. Example po sa electricity. Once mag-consume ka too much, mulit ihapon siya. So, dihan na dayon, mag-apirya na dayon. Like, magkasunog, yun na. Isa na po na siya sa mga causes nga natin climate change. Next, let's proceed to effects of climate change. So, ganyan na discuss about cause of climate change. Now, ato na mag-discuss naman ng effect of climate change. So, ang effect of climate change, first, ay higher temperatures. Well, ako naman siguro nabantayan nung nga ang ato ang lugar, ang ato ang palibot, once mag-init jud kaayo. Once pag namakulan, grabe pud kaulan, or grabe na gid pud ba mag-cause ng baha. Then pag higher temperatures na pud, grabe na pud ka-dry, mangigil na ato mga yuta. Ngayon man, tungkol sa nabuhat aning ato ang mga hinungdan nato, nganong na siya epekto kinahanglan. Nganong gihang epekto dili maayo tungod ra pud sa ato ang mga binuhatan. Next, more severe storms. So more severe storms ang atong aron sige na lang og ganang ngit-ngit, di ba? Ang ato ang palibot sige na lang ngit-ngit, then magpundo na din ang ulan, sige na lang ulan. Then next is increased drought. So increasing drought, muna to siya itong ginayon ako sa inyo na mangnigi na atong yung tungod sa init, kaya wala na yung tubig na nag-produce tungod sa hot temperature. Next is a warming, rising ocean. So, the ocean soak most of the heat from the global warming. The rate of which the ocean is warming slowly increased over the past 2 decades across the depth of the ocean. As the ocean warms, its volume increases since water expands get warmer. So melting ice sheets and also cause sea level of rise, threatening coastal and island communities. In addition, the ocean absorbs carbon dioxide, keeping it from the atmosphere, but more carbon dioxide makes the ocean more acidic, which endanger to marine life and coral reefs. So, warming rising ocean. So, dili na to no, pag once nga mag-ano na ang warming rising ocean, grabe na ka-acidic sa atuang, sa atuang ocean. So, maapektuhan dira ang atong mga coral reef. Siyempre, mga mati na sila or poison. Then, isa po, ang mga nagpuyuhod sa lapin sa dagat no, isa sa mga ginawa nila nga panginabulan, which is ang pangisda. So, pag mapektuhan ang mga isda, tungod sa grabe ka-acidic sa atuang sa atong ocean, syempre, kita po yung mga tao mapektuhan. Kaya mukha ko ang mga isda. Syempre, ang isda mapektuhan yun na. So, balik lagi hapon sa ato. Next, dinosaur species. So, muna ni siya. Wala na kita yung mga nakuha or lose na kita nga ang mga species tungod sa epekto sa climate change. Nakasira na din sila tungod sa climate change. Next is not enough food. So, dili na good enough ang atong food. Tungod kay naapektuhan na tayo. Example, sa mga rice. Ang atong rice, dili na siya consistent nga taas ng anino. Tungod kay naapektuhan na sa grabe kainit. So, nagtubol na. Dili na siya budag po yun. Kung maapektuhan na siya, kung grabe ko ulan ko dahil sumabakaan. So, dili na yun siya natural ang ihang pagtubo. Tungod kay sa epekto sa climate change. So, dili na tayo yung epekto ang nalinang food. Pagsunod na tayo ang mga poverty na dili na madistributan tanan tungod sa loss of food. Next time, more health risk. So, ang atong lawas mo, once may epektuhan mo dili maayo, syempre magkasakit ka. Dili lang ako, dili lang siya akong itanan. Kanantangan na epektuhan tungod sa epekto sa climate change. Tungod po na sa ato mga binuhatan. So, syempre, pag usag lang atong buhaton, bumalik na sa atwa. Once na bulan ng buhaton, syempre, good na lang bumalik sa atwa. Pero tungod, lagi ta mga tao, mga tungod. Syempre, maapektuhan ang gali ang mga hayop, no? Sa mga bakit ang mga tao na mas prone yun tayo. Next is, poverty and displacement. So, dili na tayo tumusunod kung ang ingon nga. Once nga, natin ang food, loss of species. So, dili na tayo tumusunod ang poverty and displacement. So, syempre, dili naman yun tanan, no nga. Lagi mga lugar nga, na kabundaw mga pagkaon. Na lugar na dili kabundaw pagkaon. So, isa na din na ang mga probinsya nga na dili tayo kuhan sa mga food. Example sa ang atong ginasaligan din sa ato kay ano man yun, rice, no? Pagtanong yun sa mga gulay na nana. So, tungod apektuhan na tayo sa climate change. Siyempre, ininit na kayo. Pag ininit na kayo, ang ato ang mga tanong, mga laya, mga mabe, tungod sa ininit. Once pag na mo, change na po lang ato ang kuhan, magsina po ulan, mga laka po siya. So, mauna nga, musunod na tayo ang poverty and displacement. Kaya tungod, wala na yung makuha yung food na tarong tungod kay sa epekto sa climate change. So, that would be all my report. Types of climate in the Philippines and also we having good cause and effect of climate change. So, that would be all.
Good day, ma'am. I am Hazel Ann Mercado and I am the third reporter of Group 7. So my topic is all about the climate change impact in the Philippines. So climate change impact in the Philippines are immense, including annual losses in GDP, changes in rainfall patterns and distribution, droughts, threats to biodiversity and food security, sea level rise, public health risks, and endangerment of vulnerable groups such as women and indigenous people. So, when we say immense means large or malawakang ang tawag na to? Impact sa Philippines. Thus, annual losses in GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the measures of the monetary value of final goods and services that are bought by the final user produced in country in given period of time. So, ang impact sa climate change sa Philippines is kuan siya kanang broad, kanang mura ganig ka ng dahugid siya og kanang impact sa Philippines ang climate change when it comes to GDP, which is the gross domestic product. So the climate change kuan pod kana rainfall patterns and distribution and droughts. So ang drought is kuan na siya sa Tagalog, tagtuyot. So di ba pag tagtuyot sa Philippines is dako siya impact sa kanang mga, for example is kanang sa mga magsasaka, di ba pag ang panahon is kanang tagtuyot is maglisod ang mga magsasaka og kuan manage sa ilahang sakahan kay lagi tagtuyot. So next is effect of the climate change to the humans. So given the fact that we are kanang nagpuyo sa kanang planet sa Earth, so nadyo impact sa atoa ang kanang climate change. So number one impact of the climate change sa atoa nga humans is ang more extreme weather condition, more sickness outbreak. So di ba pag nakapansin mo pag lahi-lahi ang kanang panahon which is climate change, napansin ninyo ang kanang mga daghan kay masakit kay laging nanibago sa kanang climate. So because of the changes of weather, human reacts to it by experiencing sickness, illness like coughs and fever. So one of the example ani is kanang ganing di ba init tas mukalit og ulan di ba maka-experience ta usahay og kanang sip-on, di ba pag mainitan ta tapos maulanan matingala dayon ta kay inig taod-taod kay mohatching ta kay lagi mo na ato ang react sa kanang climate change. Diha na dayon ta ma sip-onon or something paghuman biya sa kanang paghuman sa sip-on ubo na dayon then hilanat. So next impact sa climate change sa human is respiratory disease because of decreased air quality. So one of the example of kanang respiratory disease is heart diseases, Lyme disease. Ang kining Lyme disease caused by Borrelia bacteria from the bite of a tick. So when we say a tick, kanang garapata, kanang makuha gani sa kanang mga makuha sa kanang mga iro, kana siya kanang mao na siya ang one of the example of respiratory diseases. So ang another example pod of respiratory diseases are kanang asthma, pneumonia and lung cancer. So kanang tulo kanang parehas rin na sila og kuan nga sa kanang baga para ng ubo, di ba? Kanang mao na siya ang kanang example mo to kung giyon ganina nga mao na siya ang kanang impact sa kanang climate change sa tao, maka-experience sila og lahi-lahi nga mga kanang sakit. So, the third impact sa climate change sa human is the malnutrition. So, ang mag-wonder tanong ang malnutrition is impact gihapon siya sa climate change sa human. Di ba akong gingon ganina during tagtuyot which is the droughts, di ba? Maglisod ang mga magsasaka mag-produce og para na example kanang rice, di ba maglisod og produce kay lagi pabago-bago ang kanang panahon. So natin magka-problema sa kanang pag-produce og rice which cause nga ang ubang tao is maka-experience og malnutrition, kanang kakulangan sa kanang pagkaon. So next is government organizations involved in climate change. So number one is Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So kabalo man tanong nga ang DENR is kanang cover giniya ang kanang issue about climate change. So DENR launches environmental projects such as the Philippine Climate Change Adaptation Project to promote climate resiliency of agriculture and natural resources. So, diri is na under na tong sila ang kanang naga-manage sa kanang katulaging kanang problema sa kanang mga agriculture like katong sakahan. Sila yung naga-manage ato during mag-experience ang ato ang bansa o kanang climate change kay lagi naapektuhan nato ang dili lang ang human kundi pod ang kanang trabaho sa human which is the agriculture sector. So next is the Department of Health or DOH. So, di ba na istorya na ganina is maka-experience ang humans og kanang mga sakit kay tungod sa climate change. So syempre, ang kanang DOH sila yung nag-manage anang mga kanalaging mga humans nga mga sakit. So, DOH partnered with World Health Organization to protect human health from the kanang effects of climate change which is maka-experience sila og mga sakit. So in addition no, bisag wala siya nasulat diri sa kuan kanang visual. So napoy agency nga kanang under gihapon nila ang kanang sila gihapon naga-manage gihapon sa kanang climate change. So it is called sa una gitawag siya og NFSCC, which means National Framework Strategy on Climate Change. But karon bag-o na siya, gitawag na siya og NCCAP or National Climate Change Action Plan. So ang kining NCCAP prioritize food security, water sufficiency, ecological environmental stability, and human security. So kining NCCAP mao ni siya ang kanang naga-manage sa kanang mga food, water o kanang sa ecological environmental stability sa human. So mura na gihapon siya og kining duha, pero ang kining gi-focus aning NCCAP is more on pangangailangan ng humans during climate change, which is the basic needs, which is the foods and the water. So kaning katong tulo nga ako ang ingon is mao na siya ang kanang mga government and agencies na nagatabang sa mga humans during climate change. So that is all about my report po. Thank you.
Hey everyone, especially to you ma'am. My topic is all about NGOs involving climate change. So number 1 is Save Philippine Seas. Save Philippine Seas, it aims to protect the country's threatened marine resources. There's a lot of advocacy and program regarding the Save Philippine Seas, which is the plastic bags, quit the sachet dependency, refuse the straw, reuse, use friendly sunscreen, and join coastal cleanups. And number 2 is all about Greenpeace Philippines. It also aims to protect the country's environment and show awareness through public debates and peaceful protests on climate justice. So, the Greenpeace Philippines, it also raises awareness and bring real action to solve pressing environmental issues concerning our climate, ocean, food, plastic, livable cities, and social justice. Number 3 is all about Marine Wildlife Watch of the Philippines. It aims to foster a better appreciation of the marine environment. So marine wildlife, there's a lot of activities in Marine Wildlife Watch of the Philippines, which is the protect endangered reefs, restored mangroves, monitor marine habitats, establish NPAs, and sanctuaries. Number 4 is Philippines Biodiversity Conservation Foundation. Aims to protect the country's wildlife through various conservation progress. So, Philippine Biodiversity Conservation Foundation, they have nasali gina-protect, which is the plant local flowers, fruits, and vegetables, which plants and vegetable helps to protect biodiversity and supports the wider ecosystem of our local area. So number 5 is Haribon Foundation. Aims to promote biodiversity and conservation. So parehas na yung Philippines Biodiversity o Haribon Foundation. It also conserve natural sites and habitats, save endangered and threatened species, encourage sustainably and empowered people. Number 6, Waves for Waters. Aims to promote environment conservation and distribution of clean water to communities. So, ang Waves for Waters, they have target, no? They have target, especially the Special Ops Styles non-profit organization where focuses on correcting the imbalance of water scarcity and developing communities around the world. So that's it, my part, ma'am. Thank you.
And now you have finally arrived at your final destination, which is the prevention of climate change. So, since we already tackled what is people and climate all about, what is climate, what is climate change, and what are the causes and effects of climate change, toward our country in the Philippines and toward us, humans. So, we already tackled the impacts of it, and then the government organization towards climate change, and also the NGOs involved in the climate change. What are those mga project na they made? So, for now, we need to move forward, Chakot. We need to know how to prevent climate change. So, these are the preventions of a climate change. So, first, plant more trees to help remove carbon dioxide from the air. So, as trees grow, they help to stop climate change by removing carbon dioxide from the air, storing carbon in the trees and soil, and releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Tree planting is one of the simplest and most effective ways of tackling climate change caused by greenhouse gas. As trees grow, they absorb carbon dioxide, a major greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. Trees provide oxygen and limit carbon in the atmosphere. They reduce air pollution, provide food and erosion, and maintain healthy soil, increase rainfall, and absorb sunlight as energy. Simply, trees are an essential component of life on Earth. So it is very important to plant trees, or you can join any organization who are those activities na they are involving are those tree planting. So it is a very big help to prevent climate change. So the second one is reduce your electricity use to prevent greenhouse emissions. So simple energy saving habits such as turning off the lights when not in use and turning down a water heater, and already a big help in the environment and for you as well. So there are 3 ways to reduce the use of electricity. First, use less power, LESS. And then second one is unplugging electronics when you are not using them. The third one is plugging electronics into a power bar and switching it off. Setting up a charging station with a smart power strip so you can limit charging time. Using energy wisely and conserving energy efficiently are the 2 major global issues. So we need to less are using electricity, especially if they are not important, or if wala tayong ginagawa, we need to less electricity. And then if, for example, turning off the lights if hindi mo na siya ginagamit. And then it is very also important because hindi lang ikaw yung natutulungan, pati na rin yung electricity bill ninyo is bumababa if you are capable enough of using electricity. So, the third one is eat less meat, since red meat production also contribute to more greenhouse gases. So, meat consumption is responsible for releasing greenhouse gases such as methane, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide. So, these gases contribute to climate change, such as global warming, and livestock farming contribute to these greenhouse gases in several ways. The destruction of forest ecosystem, beef is the highest emitter of greenhouse gases, producing over twice as much emission per kilogram. And as the second highest food emitter is lamb. So we need to lessen our the way kanang we eat meat, because it also affect us the climate change. So always kanang, if possible, always eat vegetables aside from or meat. So mas healthy pa po yung katawan natin if we eat vegetables. So the fourth one pa di ay is conserve water to be prepared for any natural calamities due to the climate change. So conserve water. So it takes a lot of energy to pump, treat, and heat water. So saving water reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Saving water around the home is simple. 3% of the nation's energy is used to pump and treat water. So conserving water conserves energy that reduces greenhouse gas pollution. That's why use water efficiently. Huwag mag-aksaya ng tubig, dapat marunong tayong magtipid. And then the fifth one is drive and fly less, since transportation is also contributes to greenhouse emission. So the question is, how does transportation contribute to the greenhouse effect? Greenhouse gas emissions from transportation is primarily come from burning fossil fuel. For our cars, trucks, ships, trains, and planes, so over 90% of the fuel used for transportation is petroleum and diesel. And transportation is the large source of greenhouse gas emission. So transportation is a large kanang impact or source of having greenhouse emissions. So pollution from vehicles and engines na makukuha natin. So we need to drive less, drive wise, choose fuel efficient vehicles, optimize home deliveries, use efficient lawn and gardening equipment. So here by using transportation, we must kanang capable enough also by driving instead of driving ay kanang mga transportations na it can brought climate change. You can if malapit yung pupuntahan mo, you can just walk or use bike as possible for prevention, to prevent a climate change. So the last one is the reduce, reuse, recycle, good environment. So reducing, reusing, and recycling waste helps save landfill space by keeping useful materials out. The amount of energy and natural resources need to produce or collect the raw materials and manufacture the product are reused. Using recovered materials helps to reduce the pollution caused by the extraction and processing of virgin materials. Also, when products are made using recovered rather than virgin materials, less energy is used during manufacturing and fewer pollutants are emitted. So, when we say reduce, reuse, recycle, the best example of this is especially in our school, previous school when I am still in high school, we can gather the plastic bottles and then throw it in a globe or a garbage kanang they gathered the mga plastic bottles for kanang gina-collect siya para mahimo siyang chair. So it means na reduce na ang mga plastic bottles, na recycle na siya, nahimo siyang chair, and then magiging reuse siya. Magagamit siya ng mga students. So that is one of the example of this reuse, reduce, and recycle. So if we are also kanang capable enough for our environment, we need to have actions on do good actions for our environment, because we are kanang tayo lang din po yung na gumagamit, or tayo lang din po yung naapektuhan sa pagbabago ng climate. So do good for the environment, and then the environment will also have a good impact. And then we all know that climate change is kanang brought by the human activities, by the simple things now na we can prevent is, as a student or as a leader, one of example of this is kanang don't throw any garbage. So be a leader, be a responsible enough of your garbage, and then kanang recycle your garbage, and then segregate your garbage. And then I also believe the quotation of basura mo, hipusin mo. So that is a basic prevention to prevent climate change. As a student, dapat alam mo kung ano yung nakakabuti sa iyong kapaligiran. Dapat you are capable enough of doing good in your surroundings and your environment. If you do good, you have a better result or better environment, and then you can prevent a climate change. So as a student, dapat you have the humanitarian heart. Hindi mo lang dapat inuuna yung sarili mo, kundi inuuna mo din yung iba, or especially sa ating environment. And then I also believe in the quotation of, from the simple action have a big impact. That dapat we are responsible enough of our actions towards of our environment, because it leads us a improvements if we have or we care of our environment. If you follow these preventions, if you plant trees, if you reduce using electricity, if you eat less meat, if you conserve water, if you drive and fly less transportation, and then if you reduce, reuse, recycle, you have this, a good environment. So having a good environment can save our Mother Earth or save our planet. So I believe that it will start sa ato ang kaugalingon, so that we can inspire others to do good also. So I believe that we can prevent climate change. So that's all for our report, and I hope you learned a lot, especially to my co-reporters. And then I hope na naiintindihan nyo po yung aming natakal ngayon. So thank you for listening, and God bless us all.